Hey, good morning guys. I've been driving this Lexus LC500 for a couple days, actually 3 days now, and I wanted to give some follow-up thoughts on what I think about the car and just what it's been like to spend some time with it. So yesterday morning I took this out to a Cars and Coffee. It's actually the Car and Driver Cars and Coffee at M1 Concourse. And this is basically one of the biggest events, automotive events in Michigan. And they hold it every couple weeks. About 2,000 cars show up. A lot of them are supercars and exotics. There's some really special stuff that shows up to the show. And this car got the most attention out of just about everything. There are nose prints on the glass. You know, people were checking it out, taking photos. Everyone was looking at the interior. I must have started it up for people about 20 times. I've never seen anything that I've gotten get so much attention. Of course, that's because this is new, and no one has really seen these cars on the road. But in person, this LC500 is just absolutely stunning. People can't seem to get enough of it. Everyone on the road looks, it turns heads, everyone stares, everyone comments. It looks expensive, it looks exclusive. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So really, really outstanding job on Lexus for just nailing the design on this car. The proportions are amazing. The only thing I'm probably not 100% sold on is the rear end. I feel like it could maybe use a little bit more design elements around the trunk area. It just kind of all comes to a point, maybe a little spoiler or something, but I'm sure we'll see stuff like that in the F Sport or the F version coming in the future. Let's talk about some high points on this car. So, in my opinion, the biggest thing that I like about it is the way it sounds. The exhaust note on this is just, it's intoxicating. It sounds so good when you start it up. It kind of gives you a little bit of a rev on startup. It sounds a little bit like an Aston Martin, and that's a pretty great thing. Let's take it for a drive here. Enough to sit in a parking lot talking. One thing I wanted to talk about too is this 10-speed transmission. So most of the time it's really good. You've seen in the last video, in a performance driving situation, it drives really well. It's quick to shift, pretty responsive, excellent downshifts above a certain RPM. The only time it's a little bit funny is on takeoff. Sometimes starts can be a little bit rough, a little bit jerky. This is a pre-production car, so maybe calibration hasn't quite reached, its final production level. But there is just a little bit of roughness sometimes that can be a little bit jolting or jerky. So but once you get going, it's fantastic. I think it's a really nice transmission that suits the car. These magnesium paddle shifters feel fantastic. I like the action on them. That blip on the downshift is just, oh, it's intoxicating. The other morning we were cruising with a bunch of 911 turbos and just a bunch of exotics heading out to M1 Concourse, and I was getting so many comments from people saying how loud this thing was and how good it sounded when driving over. And these guys are all driving exotics with loud exhausts and tunes, and their cars are super loud, and if they can hear this, it's nice to know that it's not just induction being piped in from the engine bay. This actually has a pretty substantial exhaust note. Because when I'm in the car, I can't really hear it too well. But this thing really, it screams. Let's throw it into manual here, sport mode. Get a little change from the gauge cluster. The handling on this is really pretty good. For the run flat Turanza tires that are on this car, this doesn't have the Pilot Super Sports. These are the run flats. It's good. I mean, it's very predictable, very easy to push and drive at the limit. I don't necessarily miss the limited slip too much. In street driving situations. I think if you were going to track this car or really, really hustle it and wanted to slide around a little bit, the limited slip is definitely an option. But it does pretty well without it too. So a little bit of traction control kicking in there. The traction control system isn't terribly intrusive. I think it works pretty well. That said, though, this car does have quite a bit of mechanical grip, so it doesn't kick in a whole lot. I think when the tires are cold, it'll be a little bit intrusive now and then, but overall it's pretty good. I would say high points on this car are really the engine, the way it sounds, and the suspension and ride and comfort and just the look and feel of this car. This is a really amazing offering from Lexus. They've kind of, I think this will be a car that we'll kind of look back on someday that changed the direction of the brand a little bit. Let's go over some of the specs on this particular car. So this is a pre-production unit. This is the 2018 LC500 with the Touring package. So this includes the collision safety plus system with radar cruise control and collision avoidance, lane keep assist, all that good stuff. It also has the 20-inch forged wheels, which look fantastic, Alcantara headliner, and the Mark Levinson sound system, which just sounds fantastic. There's a shot of the back seats. On the subject of back seats, I actually was able to fit someone in the back yesterday, though he wasn't happy about it. My buddy Mike is probably about 6 foot, and he was not doing well. His head was bumping up against the glass. But in a pinch, you could fit someone back there, but ultimately these seats are usually pushed all the way back, and it's just kind of a glorified shelf. Probably wouldn't have trouble fitting kids back there. In my driving position, there's about maybe a fist and a half of leg room. But any taller of a driver, I'm 5'10". Anyone taller would be pushed back against the back. One guy sat in this car yesterday who was 6'5", and he was all the way against the back seats. So this also has the color heads-up display. You can see right there. You'll notice that as the car warms up, so we just did a cold start, the tachometer will it'll inch up. Your red line will kind of inch up a little bit like the E92 M3 did and some other cars. Kind of a nice feature. And then this also has the 10.3-inch navigation screen. MSRP on this starts at $92,000. With the Touring package, this puts it at $94,690, excluding the $995 for shipping and whatnot. So this car also doesn't have the limited slip differential, which I don't think can be combined with the touring package. I was speccing one out online, and it was grayed out as an option. The limited slip is only a $300 option. It's not that expensive. I would definitely go for it if you don't want the touring package. The spec on this car is really nice. You know, I mean, I think for what it is, this is a really, really luxurious vehicle to drive. I've been driving this around on rough roads. The ride quality is sublime. It is so good. It just goes over bumps and it doesn't even care. It doesn't even notice. It really, really rides well, while also at the same time it remains very composed and confidence inspiring around corners. It's really a pretty amazing suspension setup. Probably my biggest and only gripe with this car is just this infotainment system. I'm not a fan of this new touch screen, even though it has some nice haptic feedback. That's not touch screen, it's a little touch pad down here. I was a pretty big fan of the mouse Lexus used to use. It kind of had a mouse and it would give you feedback and you could click. That seemed to be a little bit more accurate, and you could really quickly access menu items. This is just a chore to get anything done, especially while you're driving. Forget about it. If you're moving around, you're not going to be able to accurately take your eyes off the road and select something. So what I've noticed is that after driving this for a few days, I'll kind of set it and forget it. So if I'm listening to the sound system, if I'm listening to the Sirius XM or whatever, I'll just set my station and I'll kind of have to stick with it because it's so complicated to change things. The climate control can mostly be set and configured here, but if you need to get into heated or cooled seats, you have to go into the separate menu here, and you have to scroll over and turn those up, and it's just a pain. So I wish they had heated and cooled seat buttons, because I think those are features that people are going to be using quite a bit. I think the more time you spend with this, the more you get used to it. But still, there are a lot of menus to sift through. This dual display is kind of nice, where you can display a couple different screens as options. But that's the story on that. It's pretty much the same deal with any Lexus or Toyota product these days. This has kind of been a weak point for a little while. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about this car. Really, really impressed with the LC500. I didn't think I would like it this much, and it was really just an enjoyable car to drive and live with for the few days that I had it. Anyone who came into contact with it was just really impressed with the overall quality and the experience and the sound and the touch points and the materials and just the overall package that Lexus has put together here. They've done a really outstanding job. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Chris Osberg at Winding Road has had it for the last few days. We swapped a couple days ago, and so he's going to be doing a full review on this for the Winding Road channel. Be sure to check that out when that goes live soon. And for now, if you haven't already, please subscribe. I've got some more stuff like this coming out in the future. And yeah, appreciate the support. We'll see you guys later. Take care.